This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Friday, the 5th day of July in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. After having teachers on strike for more than 75 days during two different periods since February, the Guyana Teachers Union has dropped its demand for its 2019 to 2023 proposal to be negotiated first, and has now agreed with the Education Ministry to shelve that period and begin salary negotiations from this year moving forward. In a statement this afternoon, the Education Ministry announced the end of the conciliation talks with the GTU, which were being facilitated by the Chief Labour Officer. In its announcement, the Education Ministry said the two sides have agreed that a multi-year agreement to be negotiated will address a period commencing from this year onwards. The ministry said bilateral talks will now begin on that multi-year agreement. In confirming the agreement to begin talks from this year moving forward, GTU General Secretary Coretta MacDonald told News Source that the GTU has submitted a new proposal to the Education Ministry and has agreed to look at 2024 and beyond.
We have submitted to the Ministry of Education a brand new proposal because of their continued reluctance to look at the 2019-2023 proposal that was submitted since 2020. It is unfortunate that we have had to reach the stage of one, having to take industrial action and a prolonged one, and then to reach where we are at now. Nonetheless, let me say to you, the proposal that was submitted to the Ministry of Education, that still has to be debated on, in the sense that the 2019-2023, there are some issues that are still to be sorted out with that proposal. We look forward to, and as we've always been doing, we've always been going out there in good faith, hoping that our partners will return same to us. It is the hope of the GTU that in this new phase, we are not going to have the nation's teachers and the nation's children having to endure another period of industrial action.
The GTU General Secretary said with schools closed from today, the hope is that the negotiations will begin during the school holidays and be completed before the new school year begins in September.
Schools are closed today, officially closed today. If we had kept our teachers out and the ministry had closed the schools before, then just what I said before would have happened. We couldn't take that kind of chance. And so that's what negotiation is all about, and being very tactical in what you do. So we stepped into schools before schools were closed, so that our teachers can benefit from having their salaries at the end of the month. We're talking here the July-August period.
MacDonald said she does not see the agreement reached with the Education Ministry as any surrender. She said there was a landmark case that went in the favor of the GTU and will now benefit the labor force in the country. But is this the GTU caving? Is this the GTU waving the white flag after all of these weeks of protests and court cases and all of that took place since February?
Well, Gordon, in negotiations, there are give and there are takes. At this point, the GTU, after having been out there for 75 days, we had to make a decision to have our teachers return to school. And that is not saying that we have waved the white flag. It is saying that we allowed better sense to prevail, because having our teachers on the outside and the ministry threatening to close the schools before the actual date of its closure, it meant that many of our teachers could have suffered losses, and that is in the case of their salaries, having their names removed from the payroll. That is what we did not want to have to endure.
And the GTU General Secretary said the union is still confident that its teachers will remain in support of their union. She said the government could see another side of the GTU if it is not serious about a new round of negotiations which are set to begin soon. More news coming up in just a moment.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise to produce an official list of electors, OLE. If you are 18 years or over by June 30, 2024, and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors PLE in all the registration divisions for you to check if you are listed and whether your particulars are accurate. You can object to anyone you believe does not qualify for inclusion in the OLE. To do so, you must be listed in the same divisional list as the person you are objecting to. Visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to make an objection. The objections aspect of this exercise will end on Monday, the 22nd of July, 2024. For more information, contact GCOM on 2250-278-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
The People's National Congress reform has brought the curtains down on its 22nd Biennial Delegates Congress with the announcement of the party's 15-member Central Executive Committee. Almost half of the CEC members will be sitting there for the first time. Ganesh Mahipal, German Figuera, Riaz Ripnarain, Sherwood Lowe, and Troy Garway have returned on the party's highest decision-making structure. While the new names include Nima Lubez, Mervyn Williams, Robin Simon, Anil Sugrim, Joanne Ramasundo, Sherwin Lowe, Kemal Kisoon, Marcia Gordon, Wainwright McIntosh, and Darren Adams. A number of former CEC members did not contest in the elections for the new Central Executive Committee. In line with the party's constitution, an additional 10 members will be co-opted to the CEC. 5 will be the choice of the party leader, while the elected CEC will decide on the other 5 members. Additionally, each district of the party will also be entitled to a seat. There are 11 districts. The Central Executive Committee of the PNC will be complete with the appointment of the General Secretary, which will be done by the party leader, and the principal political secretaries, which will be by the Central Executive Committee. Returning officer for the party's election, Vincent Alexander, explained today that there were more delegates participating in the recent elections and more nominees than in previous years.
For all intents and purposes, we took 3 days to do a count of numbers greater than the last occasion, of counting in one place, and under an understanding that we deliver the count. We delivered the results 24 hours, within 24 hours of the count. And these results are being delivered within 24 hours. So it was not 6 days. That's inaccurate.
Alexander explained that his company, VA and Associates, was engaged to conduct the elections, which entailed being provided with a list of delegates and electors and the list of nominees and the conduct of all the procedures from that point to the final declaration. A date will now be set for the first meeting of the Central Executive Committee of the People's National Congress Reform. Out of its just concluded national conference, the Alliance for Change is repositioning itself to become the party of choice for next year's elections. That's according to the party leaders. But the leaders have not ruled out the formation of a broad coalition, telling reporters today that the AFC will do whatever is in the best interest for Guyana. At the press conference this afternoon, AFC leader Nigel Hughes said while expanding the base for the party, the Alliance for Change intends to engage in widespread consultation to determine the way forward.
We are concentrating on building out the Alliance for Change. So not only does it arrive at the strength it had previously, but that it exceeds that so that we become the force and that we can on our own compete if we wanted to. However, our primary focus is Guyana. Guyana, Guyana, Guyana. And whatever is in the best interest of this country, we will do. And I've said before, and I will repeat it, and forgive me for repeating it, we will reach out to the widest and broadest possible coalition of people in this country, civil society, religious groups, trade unions, private sector commission, everybody, first of all, to get their views on what they think is essential for the future of the country, but more importantly, to arrive at a broad, acceptable, consensual framework for the development of this country. And that will always guide the way we proceed.
With the general and regional elections about 1 year away, there have been talks about the Alliance for Change and the People's National Congress Reform through the APNU arriving at a consensus presidential candidate to contest next year's elections. The leader of the bigger and older PNC Reform, Aubrey Norton, has already made it clear that any consensus candidate would have to more than likely come from the People's National Congress. But today, Mr. Hughes said at this stage, the issue of a consensus candidate is purely academical, reiterating that the AFC will be guided by the broader society. Ahead of the 2015 national elections, the Alliance for Change joined forces with the APNU. The People's National Congress is the largest party in the APNU. However, while the coalition was successful in unseating the government in 2015, the AFC walked away from the coalition in 2022, having lost the 2020 elections.
That there must be a re-examination of the time leading up to the coalition, our performance in office at the coalition, our performance at the 2020 elections, because the only way we can move forward is if we examine what has happened, both good and bad. We must be committed to the truth. We must be committed to those results, and we must be committed to acting on the information. That's the only way we're going to move forward, and I certainly would attempt to persuade the party that we do that as a matter of urgency.
And Chairman of the Alliance for Change, David Patterson, said moving forward, the party will conduct a nationwide outreach with the intention of connecting and reconnecting with the party's more than 5,000 members across the country.
We'll be expanding out the party. In particular, we'll be concentrating on the riverine and hinterland regions, which we're due to visit. We intend to hear from all citizens about their concerns and what they believe are their priority areas for attention, and receiving from them and our members their views on the future of Guyana.
Patterson said major attention will be given to the nation's young people as the party repositions itself to be a driving force ahead of the next national elections. Immediate past leader of the Alliance for Change, Kemraj Ramjatan, today said he's excited about the future he sees for the AFC. Despite health officials in a number of regions across the country being on high alert over an increase in dengue cases, the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, today maintained that the number of dengue cases in the country is on the decline. While promising to provide a statistical report on the number of cases recorded so far for this year at a later date, Minister Anthony told reporters that a majority of the recorded cases are asymptomatic.
The numbers that we're seeing is not going up right now. It is actually coming down. But from January to now, we have seen a number of cases in almost all regions. Most of these cases are not cases that require hospitalization. Most of them, people who are getting dengue for the first time might have a mild case of dengue, but if they come to the facility and get a test, it would show positive.
The health minister was at the time speaking to reporters on the sidelines of a ceremony held at the Carmel Secondary School to mark the launch of this year's lymphatic filariasis elimination campaign. Dengue is a viral infection that spreads from mosquitoes to people and is more common in tropical and subtropical climates. Common symptoms include high fever, headaches, body aches, nausea, and rash. In late April, the health ministry reported that there were more than 2,500 cases of dengue, with more than 265 of those cases being hospitalized. In late June, there were at least 4 deaths recorded, but since then there have been other related deaths. The health minister said since last year, the health ministry established a national committee to combat the spread of dengue, and that committee has since created guidelines on how to diagnose and manage dengue cases. It was noted that through the offices of the regional health officers, the Ministry of Health has provided each region with adequate testing kits to facilitate increased testing. The health minister said in each region there are increased testing sites to complement the work of the district hospitals.
We do have from time to time some cases that are very severe, and in those severe cases we have to admit them into the hospital because we have to manage in case they have complications. And with dengue, there's no fixed treatment for dengue, so we can't. It's not like we have an antiviral or some medication that we can give. You have to manage people symptomatically. If persons develop complications, then we manage those complications.
To alleviate the spread of dengue, Minister Anthony said his ministry has been working with NDCs across the country and other local organs to increase the fogging of those communities. He also said while the health ministry is doing its part, citizens need to also play their part.
Apart from managing patients who would get test positive for dengue, the way to control this is really to look at the mosquitoes that are spreading dengue. And those mosquitoes, we have to reduce the mosquito population. We can do that doing several things. For people living in any one of our communities, you can't have stagnant water around your homes. We're going into the rainy season. This is going to be breeding sites for mosquito. If you want to help us to reduce dengue in the country, reduce the amount of mosquitoes that we have, then we got to remove the breeding sites for mosquitoes.
Dr. Anthony said his ministry will continue to monitor the spread of dengue and manage the cases.
The Guyana Elections Commission GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise to produce an official list of electors OLE. If you became 18 years or over by June 30th, 2024, and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors PLE in all of the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check if you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. You can make a claim for registration, change or correction to your particulars, or you can object to the inclusion of anyone who you believe should not be on the list. If you are desirous of making a claim or objection, you must visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to do so. Visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to conduct any of the above transactions. All GCOM registration offices will be open Mondays to Fridays from 8 hours to 18 hours, Saturdays and Sundays from 10 hours to 14 hours. For further information, contact GCOM at 225-0278-9, 226-65578 or 9, 223-9650, or visit our website at www.gcom.org.gy.
Mobile One is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobile One adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of mobile lubricants.
The Guyana Elections Commission GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise to produce an official list of electors OLE. If you became 18 years or over by June 30th, 2024, and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors PLE in all of the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check if you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. If you have changed your address since you were registered, you need to visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your new area of residence to apply for a transfer. Monday, 15 July 2024 is the last day you can apply for a transfer during this exercise. For further information, contact GCOM at 225-0278-9, 226-65578 or 9, 223-9650, or visit our website at www.gcom.org.gy.
Well, Vice President Jagdeo has announced that the government is currently fine-tuning a new piece of legislation that seeks to protect the state from responsibilities in the event of an oil spill offshore Guyana. At a press conference yesterday, Mr. Jagdeo said the legislative framework will set out the proposed procedures for oil spill preparation, planning and response, as well as issues related to the liabilities and damages. It will also detail the state's responsibilities and the responsibilities of those accountable in the event of an oil spill.
Would be equipped now with a tool or law which says primarily that any company that it causes a spill, whether it is a shipping company, a production company, an exploration company, that they would all be responsible for the cleanup, and also that they would be responsible for consequential losses. That is for fishermen and everyone else should they be affected, the other use. So that's basically the essence of that. We're working on this.
At an earlier press conference, the Vice President had stated that the government is looking at similar pieces of legislation from other jurisdictions in an effort to get a fair understanding of the various positions globally. He said the goal now is to get the piece of legislation sent to the National Assembly and passed soon.
And as I said before, I want that to get to the Parliament soon. We're going through an intensive process going through the bill with all the technical agencies, EPA, GGMC. It's a tight squeeze to table it before August 10th and pass it, but that's one thing we promise.
According to Mr. Jagdeo, the new legislative framework will further strengthen the institutional framework put in place by the government for the oil and gas sector. The government has passed the Local Content Act as well as updated the Natural Resource Fund legislation. The Guyana Police Force is investigating an armed robbery that took place in the compound of the Guyana Bank for Trade and Industry headquarters in Kingston, which is located just next door to the police force's headquarters. On Wednesday night, a manager attached to the Toucan Distributors Company drove into the compound to make a night deposit of $10 million, and he was robbed at gunpoint by two men dressed in complete police uniform and riding motorcycles that are suspected to be the property of the Guyana Police Force. The manager told investigators that it was just before 10 p.m. when he drove into the GBTI compound after being given the clearance by the security guard on duty. He said as he approached the night deposit box, he noticed the two men riding in the compound, but did not make much of it since they were completely dressed in the blue and black police uniform and were riding motorcycles suspected to belong to the Guyana police force. However, just as he was about to make the deposit, one of the men, he said, whipped out a gun and pointed it to him while relieving him of the $10 million that he was about to deposit. The two suspects hopped on their motorbikes and rode out of the bank's compound, leaving the manager confused, even as he raised an alarm. The Guyana police force in a statement last night initially claimed that the suspects were wearing ski masks. However, after the robbery victim and the owner of the Tucan company made it clear that no such information was provided in a statement to the police, the Guyana police force recanted that section of its statement, indicating that the suspects were indeed not wearing any mask. The Guyana police force said there has been no arrest in the case, but several CCTV cameras located in the area are being reviewed as part of the investigations. 3 Georgetown men who were nabbed by the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit on Thursday night in a car with more than 10 pounds of cocaine will appear in court on Monday to face drug trafficking charges. The 3 were intercepted by ranks of KANU along Vlasingen Road in Georgetown. According to a statement from KANU, the arrested drug trafficking suspects have been identified as chef and businessman Roll Hoyt, security guard Joel Hodge, and veterinary doctor Kwesi Joseph. KANU said its officers were part of an operation when they intercepted a motorcar with the 3 men and found the 5 packets of cocaine in the car, weighing more than 10 pounds. The 3 were immediately taken to the KANU headquarters after being arrested, and they were told of the drug trafficking offenses.
GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise to produce an official list of electors, OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors, PLE, in all of the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check if you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. If you are 18 years or over by June 30, 2024, and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. If you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE, you are required to apply for registration if your name is not in the PLE, apply for a transfer if you have changed your address since you were registered, apply for a name change if you have changed your name, or apply for a correction if your registration particulars are incorrect. Any person whose information on the PLE is incorrect can apply for such information to be changed or corrected. Any person applying for a change or correction to his or her particulars must provide the relevant original source document, birth certificate and deed poll for a name change by deed poll, marriage certificate and ID card for a name change by marriage, divorce absolute in the case of a woman who is desirous of reverting to her maiden name from her married name, birth certificate, adoption or naturalization certificate for correction of minor clerical errors. Visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to conduct any of those transactions. The claims aspect of this exercise will end on Monday, July 15, 2024. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-0278-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo. From its pristine rivers to its abundant resources, it's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect, and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyana is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyana's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyana has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors that me crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
With your regional and international news tonight, I am Svetlana Marshall in the region. In Jamaica, the Ministry of Agriculture has reported significant damage to several facilities and agricultural projects following the passage of Hurricane Beryl over Jamaica on Wednesday. The ministry said despite the challenges posed by the hurricane, it remains committed to the swift recovery and support of the agriculture sector. It was noted by the Jamaican Ministry of Agriculture that communication across the island remains extremely difficult, with reports of blocked roads due to fallen trees and poles. The ministry's team has been clearing debris and fallen trees. Across in neighboring Brazil, the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, has cancelled a visit to the southern state of Santa Catarina because his Argentine counterpart is there this weekend. The president of Argentina is expected to meet Brazil's former president, Jair Bolsonaro, at a gathering of conservative leaders. Lula recently demanded an apology from the president of Argentina, who had described him as corrupt, a communist, and a dinosaur. The Argentine president has said he had no regrets. The leaders of South America's two biggest economies have never talked face to face. The president of Argentina, Javier Milei, is an outspoken critic of leftist governments in the region. During his successful election campaign last year, he accused Lula of being corrupt. The current Brazilian president once spent 1.5 years in prison for corruption, and the charges were dismissed on appeal. And finally tonight, international news. Coast Guards in Mauritania have recovered 8 to 9 bodies of migrants from a boat that capsized in the Atlantic Ocean on Monday. 9 people, including a 5-year-old girl, were rescued, but dozens more remain missing. Survivors say the vessel, a traditional fishing boat, set sail last week from the Senegalese-Gambian border area with 170 people on board. It capsized off Mauritania's southwestern coast. Mauritania is a key transit point for migrants trying to reach Europe from West Africa, with thousands of boats departing the country last year. The most common destination on the perilous route is Spain's Canary Islands. The Spanish government says nearly 40,000 people arrived there last year, double the number from the previous year. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for today and this week. Have a safe weekend. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.